Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you, the sharp corners of the love quadrangle. If Dave Krupa had known how his online dating would turn out, he would never have registered on a dating site. He would have continued to live his old life, with his girlfriend Amy Flora and their 2 children together. Maybe finally, he would have legalized the 12-year relationship after all. Especially since after the breakup, Amy and Dave remained good friends. Periodically, they spent vacations together with their children, fulfilling their parenting duties to perfection. That was in 2011, and by the summer of 2012, Dave was ready to start a new relationship. Only the man was not looking for any commitment, preferring to remain single. He wanted to get acquainted with women who would not mind a free relationship and did not make far-reaching plans. With such thoughts, he came to the dating site, a place where everyone is looking for something different. The modern world has brought with it new technologies that allow you to build communication at a distance, bypassing many nuances, the awkwardness of the first acquaintance, the appearance at the same time, the fear of being rejected. Now, to get acquainted with someone who is interesting to you, it has become simple. It is enough only to choose the intended partner by a set of characteristics specified by him in the questionnaire. Even leave the house for this unnecessary. However, who is hiding behind a cute avatar profile, it is not known, and whether he corresponds to those features that describe too. And the real goals of dating are not always voiced in advance and found out at later stages of the relationship. Carrie Leah Farver was born on November 30th, 1974 in Macedonia, Nebraska, USA. Having a failed experience of previous relationships, she alone raised her son, Maxwell. At one time, the child was a reward as well as a challenge for her. Despite her great love for the baby, she once spent a month in bed, going into a deep depression. The child's care was provided by Carrie's mother, Nancy Rainey. Difficult relations with the father of the child, unsettled living conditions, served as a reason for the appearance of a young 20-year-old woman such an acute psychological state. Doctors later diagnosed Farver with bipolar disorder. People with this diagnosis are like 2 sides of the same coin. The person falls into extremes. His mood becomes either too good or too bad. Euphoria, increased efficiency, extreme friendliness is replaced by a depressed state, bitterness, impotence, and so on. The disease greatly complicates the normal life of a person. But in the early 2000s, Carrie's doctor was able to find such an effective treatment for her, after which she was able to live like other people. Whether she wanted to settle her personal life is a rhetorical question. On the one hand, absolutely. What woman does not dream of a worthy companion? On the other hand, why tie yourself to someone who may later become the cause of many worries and misfortunes? Carrie grew up in a full loving family, had an active life position, engaged in sports, dreamed of devoting herself to medicine. However, dreams were not allowed to materialize. At the first practice in the medical college, where the girl entered, she lost consciousness at the sight of blood. Therefore, deciding not to risk neither her health nor the health of patients, she studied to become a programmer. In the fall of 2012 in the neighboring city of Omaha, Carrie was offered a job on good terms. She couldn't turn down the prospects that lay ahead of her, so she accepted the offer. Since Max was in middle school, the boy did not want to change his familiar surroundings and move with his mother. He remained to reside with his grandmother in Macedonia. Carrie Farver's friend, Amy Long, recalled that she couldn't help but be noticed. When she walked into a room, all eyes were on her and her radiant smile. Perhaps that's what Dave Krupa liked about her one November day in 2012. Carrie met Dave at the auto repair shop where he worked. While looking at Carrie's car, a Ford Explorer, he realized he was very attracted to this woman. "She's showing me something inside the car, and we're standing there and we're very close. And there was some tension," Dave later recalled. It didn't take long for the date to arrive, and it was afterward that they went up to Dave's house. Except that their privacy was marred by many calls and messages from a certain Liz, who later stopped by the man's apartment to pick up something left for her earlier. Dave explained to Carrie that this was his former companion, Liz Golar, whom he met on a dating site about 6 months ago and had been dating for a while. He also explained that the woman was extremely clingy, which was the reason for their breakup. Carrie was very understanding, so she wasn't confused when she saw another woman in the man's apartment. After all, everyone has their own handleless suitcase from the past that occasionally makes itself known. So Carrie remained unfazed, but Liz was clearly upset to see a strange woman in Dave's house. 2 weeks after moving in, Carrie began dating Dave. They had discussed their relationship with each other beforehand, agreeing only to a brief, unencumbered affair. Shanna, Elizabeth Goler, better known as Liz, was the first person Dave met online in 2012. Liz was born in 1975 in Michigan. Dave liked her at first. She claimed that she was also not looking for a serious relationship, especially since she was a mother, and most of her time should be spent on her children, not men. By the way, they both had children around the same age. Dave repeatedly noted that Liz was unlikely to be a real-life partner for him, since she was neither well-read nor educated, which was important in a relationship between a man and a woman. They had few topics of conversation, and the relationship emphasized more on the horizontal. Over time, Liz became interested in what Dave was doing in her absence, who he was seeing, to which the man repeatedly pointed out that they were in an open relationship and she shouldn't care. Dave also told her that she could behave as she wished, that he did not restrict her from dating other men. However, apparently Liz was not satisfied with this, and she began to pester Dave more and more. But most of all, Liz was jealous of Dave's children and their mother, Amy. She couldn't understand the warm relationship that remained between them after the breakup. Eventually, Liz's actions forced Dave to distance himself. Then Carrie appeared on the horizon. Carrie was beautiful, with style and intelligence. Dave could talk to her for hours. They matched on everything. "I felt like I hit the jackpot," Dave claimed. Liz, sensing that the man was pulling away from her more and more, began to remind him of himself with more activity. She wrote messages, emails, and called. However, he wasn't going to stop seeing Carrie or anyone else for her. Soon, Carrie and Dave were spending more and more nights together. Dave allowed himself to do this because it was convenient for Carrie to get to work, and he enjoyed her company. Carrie acted like she was not looking for something serious, but was just enjoying the moment, having fun. In December 2015, Liz was shot. The woman, in all likelihood, guessed who it was. As luck would have it, the wound turned out to be non-fatal. "This can't go on any longer. I have to do something about it," thought Liz. Leaving for work on November 13th, 2012, Carrie kissed Dave and promised to see him later. That was the last time he would see her. At 9:45 a.m. while at work, Dave was very surprised by the contents of a text message from Carrie. She texted him that she wanted to live with him and move in with him permanently. The correspondence was very disconcerting to Krupp. He could not understand Farver's sudden change of mood, as they had discussed this point beforehand. They had jointly decided that they would not rush into a relationship. They were happy as they were now. The message, however, told a different story. Dave gently replied that he wasn't ready for such a change. The counter-message from Carrie was not pleasant. "Lots of profanity," he described the message. "I didn't know what to think. I was shocked." When he returned to the apartment, he found that all of Carrie's belongings that she had brought to him were gone. Apparently, that's why he thought the woman had left him. That same day, Carrie deleted him from her Facebook friends. That would seem to be the end of it. But no. Dave started receiving text messages and emails from Carrie several times a day. They contained curses and threats to ruin his life. There were so many of them, and they were all rude. Carrie also didn't show up for work, which was unlike her, since she was notable for her punctuality. Strange messages from Carrie Farver were sent not only to Dave Krupa, but also to her mother and her 15-year-old son. She wrote that she had found a job in Kansas and planned to take Max. But for now, she wants to be alone as she is worried about her failed romance. In May 2013, Carrie in her Facebook profile published a rather long post, which read, "I've answered enough questions to prove to everyone that I've had enough. You can either believe I'm your daughter, mother, sister, and friend you've known your whole life, or just leave me alone. I left of my own free will, and I'm sick of everyone giving me a hard time for doing what I had to do. I don't miss it, I just don't want to go home right now. I'm a grown woman, and if I feel like leaving home, I have the right to do so. So when I'm ready to come home, I will. I'm sorry that after hurting everyone, I just up and left." Time passed, however. Carrie never showed up. The woman's mother clearly realized something was wrong with her daughter when she missed her own birthday, as well as Max's birthday and other family celebrations. The final straw was her father's funeral. After a while, Liz Goler also started receiving messages from Carrie. In them, she insulted and humiliated the woman, and some messages contained a threat to stay away from Dave. In order for the man to be able to explain such strange behavior of her friend, Liz decided to contact him. He told her that he was in exactly the same situation. Carrie attacked him with messages and emails. In them, the woman accused her former lover of all sins, called him a lecher, and promised revenge for all the pain he had caused her with his response. Sometimes the messages were ominous in nature, telling her what Dave was up to at the moment. The fact that they were in the same position brought Dave and Liz even closer together. He felt even more guilty for the inconvenience he had caused her. Soon, the incessant messages from Carrie became more threatening. The text was illogical and full of grammatical errors. Carrie's mother insisted that her daughter had never been an angry person and that she had always written letters and other documents correctly. Carrie was meticulous about spelling and style. Did Carrie's bipolar disorder develop into something more after a second trigger? Could it be that she had experienced even greater mental abnormalities? There was no explanation for Carrie's actions other than her uncontrolled mental state. The main sign of dissociative identity disorder, split personality, is the existence of a separate self-consciousness in each ego. At the same time, each of them has a different memory, thinking, behavior, and even inclinations to certain actions. Could this explain Carrie's strange behavior and even her altered writing style? Everything pointed to the woman's instability. That's why the police didn't consider Carrie Farver missing. Focused on stopping the pursuit of Liz and Dave, they tried to track Carrie through her cell phone. But it was all in vain. The signals were being blocked. Liz and Dave were still receiving hundreds of texts and emails. Sometimes, even when they were together, their phones would receive nasty messages at the same time. The couple continued to date, but Dave felt uncomfortable around Liz. She became more demanding again, although she continued to claim that she was fine with their no-commitment relationship. Every time Dave fought with Liz and ended his relationship with her, Carrie increasingly texted, "We were both victimized. Dave and I had something in common that we didn't have with anyone else," says Liz. Common problems brought the young people closer together, and they returned to each other again and again. In January 2013, Dave discovered the missing Carrie's car in his front yard. Surprisingly, the fingerprints on the steering wheel did not belong to Carrie, and in general, the car was clean. No suspicious traces were found in it. The police later turned the car over to Farver's parents. Carrie continued to write to Liz and Dave. It got to the point where she started sending pictures of their children and threatening to hurt them if Dave didn't leave Liz alone. Time passed, but there were no results. Carrie's manic stalking continued, and Liz annoyed Dave more and more with her jealousy as he continued to socialize with other women. He grew tired of what was going on in his life and finally found the strength to finally end his relationship with Liz. Soon after, another tragedy occurred. In August 2013, Liz Golar reported a fire in her home that killed all of her pets, including a snake, a cat, and 2 dogs. Liz told police she suspected Carrie was responsible for what happened. The woman had threatened her repeatedly in her texts and emails. The incident marked a turning point in the case of the missing Carrie. Carrie Farver was put on a federal wanted list, and each of the tens of thousands of messages was decided to be studied in detail. Law enforcement seized cell phones from Dave and Liz. Krupa believed he was in danger too, so he bought a gun for protection. There was a reason for that. Someone vandalized the auto repair shop where he worked and threw a brick through his window. Carrie seemed to direct his anger at anyone in Dave's life. After a while, the mother of his children, Amy Flora, also began receiving threatening messages from Carrie. Since the man often spent time with his children, he often saw Amy as well. Police became suspicious. Why would a man who had dated Dave for less than 2 weeks for 3 years now stalk him and his ex-girlfriends? It just didn't make any sense. Carrie Farver's relatives were also relentless, searching for the missing woman, plugging in every way they could to find her. And one day, in the spring of 2015, The efforts paid off. Detectives Ryan Avis and Jim Doty volunteered to solve Carrie Farver's disappearance. They found no evidence that Carrie was alive. Here's what one of them told ABC News. "It's not normal for adults to just pick up and leave without literally spending any money. No one saw her and no one heard her voice. It just doesn't make sense. She had a good income, a nice house. I've come to the conclusion that I can't prove that she's actually alive." With the help of Anthony Kawa, digital forensics administrator for the Potawatomi County Sheriff's Office, detectives reviewed content downloaded from Krupp and Golar's phones in 2013. Kawa said Carrie Farver sent more than 50,000 texts and 15,000 emails to Dave over a 3-year period. Kawa added, "Whoever was impersonating Carrie, that certain someone became more and more sophisticated in what they were doing, trying to hide their IP address, trying to hide their real identity. Somebody obviously knew what they were doing, knew all kinds of computer programs, at least had access to them." In December 2015, Liz Golar contacted the police again. She reported that she had been shot in the leg on the doorstep of her own home. According to her, it was not Carrie, but Amy Flora. She was the one she recognized as her attacker. Dave was also missing a gun that Amy may have had access to. Could this woman be behind Carrie's disappearance? There was a lead in the investigation. It explained why everyone connected to Dave Krupp was being harassed. It could well be that Amy, having failed to settle her personal life after the breakup with the father of her children, decided to take revenge in this way and eliminate all competitors. Especially since the relationship between Dave and Amy has always been not bad, the joint children brought them closer together, and foreign women clearly prevented them from getting back together. It didn't take long for the police to respond. Amy was questioned. However, to everyone's surprise, she had an alibi. She had not been at Liz's house at the time of the shooting. This was confirmed by several people, so no arrest was made. The investigation became more and more confusing. At the same time, new details became known from the specialists who were processing data from Liz's cell phone. Golar's phone contained a wealth of information. Kava discovered fake email addresses with different variations of Farver's name. Investigators also discovered an app she used to schedule messages to be sent at certain times. This could explain how she and Dave were receiving messages from Carrie at the same time. Kava became suspicious of Liz Golar. The puzzle came together when Liz's fingerprints were compared to those found on the steering wheel of Carrie's car. They were a perfect match. It became obvious who the culprit was. The killer had been around all these years, and there was no telling who else might have been affected by her actions. One thing was clear. The case had to be stopped as soon as possible. The only thing left to do was not to scare Liz away, or better yet, catch her red-handed. Something had to be done to throw the woman off balance. The detectives decided to make up a story about supposedly believing Liz, with Amy still being the prime suspect. Liz took the bait. She was overjoyed that she would finally be able to get rid of another rival that was interfering with her happiness with Dave. Shortly afterward, Liz Golar handed the police an email that she claimed was from Amy. In that email, Amy admitted to kidnapping Carrie. It also contained details of the crime. The confession stated that Carrie had been stabbed earlier in the stomach or chest area and then disposed of the body. Details from the letter also contained information about Carrie's car and home, which were not made public. The details were chilling because they were graphic, an investigative spokeswoman said. Liz provided detectives with the kind of information that only a true criminal could possess. Thus, she inadvertently confessed to the murder of Carrie Farver. It was clear from the letter that the crime had taken place in the car. Therefore, it was decided to examine the victim's car once again. After the specialists removed the seat covers and fabric, a bloodstain belonging to the disappeared Carrie Farver was found. How did Liz manage to poison messages on Carrie's behalf and yet remain above suspicion? Some sources claim that Liz Golar led a double life, dating both Dave and a man named Garrett. The latter lived on an IP address that was identified as the starting point of messages coming from Carrie's name. In the course of communicating with him, it was revealed that he had been dating Shanna Golar, whom many knew as Liz, for a long time. Out of kindness, the man offered Shanna to move in with his children after the fire. However, the relationship between the two, was complicated and deteriorated markedly after they began living together. Garrett would look after Golar's children while she secluded herself in her room or went somewhere else. It came as a big revelation to the man what police told him. Golar spent 40 to 50 hours a week pretending to be the missing woman. Her room was a mess, but no significant evidence was found. However, investigators did find several cell phones and electronics in the last apartment she occupied. In late December 2016, Shanna Golar was charged with first-degree murder. The county prosecutor spoke about the complexity of the court investigation. Most murders are dark. This crime was bizarre to the point where it would take some convincing to make someone believe it actually happened. There's no way someone would have let their dog die in a fire they set themselves. There's no way someone would have shot themselves in the thigh, yet Shanna Golar did it in order to deflect suspicion from herself. Shanna Golar's attorney, James Martin Davis, hoped the case would fall apart because it relied mostly on circumstantial evidence. Carrie's body was never found, nor was the crime weapon, and Golar herself never confessed. There was no evidence that Carrie had died at all. The defense team opted for a mistrial, meaning that the degree of Shanna's guilt would be determined by a judge, not a jury. Mountains of complex electronic evidence were presented along with physical evidence. However, the prosecution insisted that the amount of blood found on the passenger seat of Carrie's car was consistent with a confession of stabbing from the IP address where Shanna lived. Investigators did establish Shanna's direct link to Carrie's murder by analyzing the memory card she was using around the time Carrie went missing. It was in a tablet that was stored in Dave's possession. Deleted images were recovered, including a photo of a human foot with a Chinese symbol tattooed on it. It was immediately obvious that the foot belonged to a man who had been dead for many years. In addition, among Carrie's special features was a similar tattoo. Later, the woman's mother confirmed that the tattoo really belongs to her daughter. The photo confirmed Shanna Golar's conviction. The judge found her guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He said, "Carrie Farver did not disappear voluntarily. It is very unfortunate that she was murdered." Authorities believe Shanna killed Carrie, gave her body time to decompose, and then burned the remains to get rid of all evidence. Probably overstepping her bounds due to jealousy, she decided to get rid of her rival. After disposing of her, she purposely took her cell phone to make Farver look crazy and win back Dave's favor. When her plan succeeded, Shanna wanted to rid her lover of Amy as well. But she got so caught up in the game that she ended up falling into a trap of her own making. It's a bloody love square, to say the least. Golar was also found guilty of setting fire to her own home in August 2013, which she tried so hard to blame on Carrie. Because the fire not only burned down the house but also killed pets, she received an additional 20 years in prison. The woman is currently incarcerated at the Nebraska Correctional Center for Women. Shanna still maintains her innocence. Dave admitted that he has received thousands of emails and text messages signed by Carrie over the years. However, he never noticed her stalking him when they were together, which cannot be said for Shanna. He also added, "I want her to leave and not do this to anyone else." Justice has been served. For a long time, Carrie Farver's name was on everyone's lips. She was innocently accused of stalking people as well as burning Shanna's house down. Now Carrie herself has been recognized as a victim, and her good name has been restored. Carrie's mother wanted her daughter to be remembered as the fun, smart, talented woman she was. So what became of Carrie's son, Maxwell Farver of Macedonia? According to his LinkedIn page profile, he followed in his mother's footsteps by becoming a computer programmer. He graduated from the University of Iowa with a degree in software engineering, data science, and got married. It's unlikely he was able to forget what happened, but he may have found peace in the family he created. Because of his past, Dave Krupa has now chosen to live away from the limelight. In fact, he doesn't even have a public account on any social media platform. The chilling crime story is a brutal reminder of the tangled complexities that can arise in human relationships, of all kinds of manipulation, sometimes going to extremes just to maintain control of the situation. It is a story about how defenseless we can be in our familiar surroundings without knowing the true nature of human beings. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel and also don't forget to click the bell There are many shocking stories ahead.